Hello, my true crime lovelies. How are you? Our favorite senior supervillain is back to her old tricks again. That's right. Donna Adelson has filed some motions in limine. Her attorneys are busy. I will say they are definitely busier than Dan Rashbaum. I believe Rashi got all his money up front. So I wonder, can she get a refund? You think she's looking for a refund? Because they are busy. Anyway, let's get into it. I'm going to run the intro, thank all the members. I will update this because I realize this is the May member scroll and we have over 600 members. So I can't express enough how grateful I am to all of you. You make all the difference in the world. And yeah, I appreciate you. All right, so we've got two motions in limine. These are to keep things out of trial ahead of time. You kind of get these sorted out so you're not arguing about it at trial. Although you'll remember, or maybe you won't, I'm going to tell you anyway, that at Charlie's trial, they had done quite a bit of motions. I was going to say lotions in limine. That's a whole other show, honey. Motions in limine, one of which had to do with the testimony of Wendy and the dinner at her dad's, and her dad's birthday dinner, she threw up, something to that effect. And they started going into that testimony, and Rashi started jumping up and down, Your Honor, Your Honor. And it turns out it was admitted for rebuttal purposes, right? It couldn't just, did Dugan? I think it was Georgia. That's not the point. Oh my God. Georgia was questioning Wendy under direct, and Wendy lied about it. And so then they were going to bring in what had been agreed to be excluded from motions in limine, but everyone was like, yeah, duh, I can come in because it's for impeachment. But then they had to go back. They had to re-question Jeffrey Lacoste. Wendy was on the highway, girl, and so she had to back it on up and come back in, and then it was able to be entered in. So just because you have a motion in limine doesn't mean it is like carte blanche exclusionary. Hopefully that made sense, my little anecdote. Okay, let's see. Can you guys see this? So this is the testimony of Stephen Webster, who I adore. Stephen Webster, he was Danny's family court lawyer. He was covering the family case. He had just come onto the case, and when he got on the stand during Charlie's trial, now we hadn't seen him in the first two trials, he really brought Dan Markel to life and just explained like what a great father he was and how much he cared about his kids and how he wanted to be able to kiss them goodnight every night, and that wasn't going to be possible. And originally he took the meeting out of a courtesy, right? But he didn't think he was going to take the case because he's like two lawyers like going head to head, and there was lots of motions being filed. Let's just say they were both quite litigious. But after reading everything that was there in the cases, he was like, you really have a case. You know, there's something like to the point of criminality against Wendy, and you're going to need someone to go in with you. Like, you need an attorney, but I'm going to be your attorney. I'm not going to be the puppet, right? And so it was just, you could tell he really cared. And also, Stephen Webster as a human being, super likable. He has a background in criminal defense, and Rashbaum was trying to get him to say, aren't you exclusively like a criminal defense attorney? And he was like, he looked at Everett, Webster did, looked at Everett, looked back. He was like, well, I'm not board certified, so I don't think we can just say I'm exclusively. But we learned earlier this week, for those who are also following Sara Boone, you can be double board certified. There was the guy Omara who the Delapine creative team was trying to get to represent Sara in her family court case. Well, he's the guy who represented Zimmerman. He's board certified in both. Now, Stephen said he wasn't, but you can practice dual I guess, areas, even though Rashbaum tried to discredit him. It didn't really work, but the effort that he put forth seemed fruitless, especially knowing that you can be double board certified. So there you go. Anyway, so back to our favorite senior supervillain, Donna Adelson, by and through her undersigned counsel and pursuant to these sections, requests that this honorable court exclude the testimony of Stephen Webster and in support thereof states as follows. So I guess they're not going to let Judge Everett still be in over her case, rather, be a bother. They're going to file some motions. Mrs. Adelson has been indicted in this case with 1 count of first-degree murder, 1 count of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and 1 count of solicitation of first-degree murder. Attorney Stephen Webster has previously testified in Charles Adelson's trial and is listed as a witness for the trial in this case. He testified. By this motion, Mrs. Adelson moves to exclude him as a witness. So the threshold question for admission of evidence is relevance always. Somebody tell Lori Daybell. Mr. Webster did not become involved in the post-dissolution litigation until May 2014. So remember, Danny was murdered. There was an attempt on his life in June of 2014, and then he was shot July 2014 on a Friday. He didn't die until the next day on the Saturday. So he filed a motion for substitution of counsel on June 13th. Order granting substitution was signed on June 20th. According to his testimony in Charlie's trial and his deposition in this case, Webster met with Mr. Markell in May, the day after reading the pleadings he was asked to review. So that's when he changed his mind, was after he read those pleadings. His testimony centers on what Mr. Markell said to him about the post-dissolution proceedings, of course, because that's what he was representing him for, including that Mr. Markell said that he heard Mrs. Adelson say stupid is on the phone after the March 26th counter motion was filed. So that was after he had filed saying he did not want Donna to have unsupervised access to his sons because he was afraid of parental alienation because she was making comments like this. Mr. Webster also offers his opinion on the strength of Mr. Markell's claims and his opinion about the involvement of the Adelson family in Mr. Markell's death. I'm going to say his opinion matters on the strength of the claims, being that he was, or he is an attorney, but he was representing Dan Markell for this. So I think any attorney, when they go into a case, even at the very beginning, they're assessing the strengths because they're deciding whether or not they're going to take your case. If they are going to take your case, what is their strategy? And so they look at all of that. So that's his bread and butter, not just with Dan Markell, but with each client he takes. So it's a professional opinion. I wouldn't say it's an expert opinion, but it's definitely a professional one. And then his opinion about the involvement of the Adelson family in the context of as far as what was in the motions. I think that's also a professional opinion. He knows if it's like extra litigious or contentious versus other family matter cases that he's dealt with. You know what I mean? His continued advocacy for the Markell family vis-a-vis participating in podcasts and interviews with media concerning Mr. Markell's love for his children and providing commentary about the case. He has done that, but I don't recall him testifying about it. So I'm not sure what they're doing other than to say he's got a lot of publicity, but that's neither here nor there for the jury, right? Because they will have agreed to be impartial. So to the extent the state intends to elicit from Mr. Webster statements made to him by Mr. Markell, such testimony is hearsay for which there is no exception. So I don't think, like I said before, his professional opinion about the strength of the case, his professional opinion about the involvement of the Adelsons as far as what's in that file is not hearsay. They're citing this Stoll v. State. That is a case where a man murdered his wife. I did not see the parallels because, again, Webster would have a different confidence between Dan, or just between Mr. Webster and Dan, there'd be a different confidence. And then also, as a professional, he's able to objectively look at those case files and come up with his professional opinion, in my opinion. To the extent The state intends to elicit from Mr. Webster his opinion about the strength of Mr. Markel's pleadings. Webster is not an expert in family law. They're not entering him as an expert. He can talk about, like I said, he has a practice, his own practice. So he's more vested than, I would argue, than working for someone else, right? Because he's betting his mortgage on how well he does on each of the cases. So even if he were a family law expert, and who is a family law expert? Should we get one? Like, what is your point? No foundation for his opinion has been established. Again, as the person who looked at that case objectively and decided whether to take it or not, that's a foundation for his opinion. He had to have an opinion in order to agree to take the case. Absent being able to lay such a foundation, the court should prohibit him from offering an opinion about the strength of Mr. Markel's post-dissolution filing. So that's all subjective. Like I said, they could lay out what I'm saying about him having the opinion to take it, and then that's the foundation. So there's sort of conditional. They're not saying absolutely he should be barred, but they're saying, you got to make the foundation, which that all by itself is he's got to testify. He's got to testify in order to lay the foundation. So their argument is a little wishy-washy, in my opinion. Like, you cracked a door, Georgia's going to kick it in. Mr. Webster's opinion on the Adelsons' involvement in Mr. Markel's death also are inadmissible. Martinez v. State. So that, again, could be objected to on testimony if Georgia Kappelman or Sara Dugan, I'm not trying to be flip, I feel like I know them. Holding a witness opinion about the guilt or innocence of the accused is inadmissible. So I don't think they would solicit that. But if for some reason they cross that line, object. So wherefore the defendant respectfully requests that this honorable court grant this motion in limine, enter an order excluding Stephen Webster from testifying during her trial and for such relief as is just and proper. If you haven't seen Stephen's testimony or heard him speak, I know he's been on a legal focus. Judy has interviewed him. I think I saw one with her interviewing him, and also Charlie's friend, the one, I can't think of his name, but he was kind of like the friend that you go to the strip club with. So that was all done, and this was submitted last week before last, on the 21st of May. Okay, so we have that one. Again, I think that's going to be denied. Get him on the stand. Let him lay the foundation. If there's any things that are asked of him that are objectionable, then do that and let the judge rule on it. That seems straightforward to me. The other person that they, is that large enough, want to suppress testimony, Sara Yousuf. It's spelled two different ways. I copied it from here, but then the rest of the document, it has it Yousuf, so I'm inclined to believe this is the correct spelling. Anyway, defendant Donna Adelson, by and through, requests that this honorable court exclude Sara Yousuf as a trial witness, and in support thereof states as follows. If you guys know of any footage, I did search on YouTube to see if I could find her interrogation or anything else, but it seems like she came in the scene later and not at the initial time of interrogation. But if you know of any, let me know. I would love to do a reaction together with you guys and see what your thoughts are on her, because she sounds, well, the defense sounds threatened by her, so I feel like she's got a lot to offer. Mrs. Adelson has been indicted in this case. We know, first degree. Sara Yousuf has been listed by the prosecution as a material witness in this case. Sara is a former close friend of Mrs. Adelson's daughter, Wendy Adelson, and they're quoting her deposition. Sara and Wendy first met when they were students at the University of Miami of Law in 2003. According to Sara, her friendship with Wendy was very close. Sara and Wendy were friends for about 13 years. During this time, Sara knew Mrs. Adelson because she was the mother of her close friend, Wendy, right? So she knew Wendy for 13 years. Makes sense if they're really close that she's met Donna. Because of Sara and Wendy's friendship, Sara had been to Thanksgiving at the Adelson home on a few occasions. Now, those are friends, because at least at my mama's house, if you're not a friend, you're not coming to get turkey. So a few occasions, and had been to their residence for different holidays and events. Sara said she was aware that it was a highly contentious divorce, and further testified that Wendy emailed her some of the motions Dan filed. So Sara is also a lawyer. Sara described a birthday party she attended for Wendy's eldest son, which was held at Wendy's parents' condo in 2014, shortly after Dan's murder. Yikes. It was at this party that Sara obtained the only information she has regarding Donna Adelson. Only, and she's been there maybe only related to this case. I'm not sure. According to Sara, while at the party, she overheard Donna say, they're talking about him like he was a beloved professor. But you know something? He was a jerk. So that sounds something like Donna would say, and he was a beloved professor. Her hatred for him is so blinding that first of all, both things could be true. He could be a beloved professor to some and a jerk to others, right? But I think her hatred of him still colors her outlook on him, because even, when she was arrested at the airport trying to escape on a one-way ticket to Dubai, headed to Vietnam, it was like he was inconveniencing her. She rolled her eyes and oh my God, he's still bothering me. Like, she can't see his humanity, which is crazy. And I think it further supports the alienation that Dan was worried about, right? Because if she's at the son's birthday party, like shortly after his dad's death, bad mouthing him, saying he's a jerk, she's alienating. She was alienating, right? She's willing to do that at his death when most people are nice. Well, except some of the Sara Boone fans. Most people are nice about someone immediately after their death, right? You don't speak ill of the dead, but not Donna. And at the birthday party, no less, where it can be overheard. Sara thought that what Donna said was abnormal because Dan had just died, and in most cultures, we don't speak ill of the dead. In Sara's opinion, Donna's statement conveyed an outsized and inappropriate anger, considering that he would never bother anyone again. Right. She's still mad, even though she's quote unquote won. She must be big mad now that she knows she ain't won shit. Beyond that statement, Sara had no other testimony related to Donna Adelson that she could offer, according to the defense. We don't know. Sara ended her friendship with Wendy in 2017, which people started getting arrested in 2016. So, Luis Rivera was already in custody, but he did his proffer. But Sigfredo got arrested, I think, in May of 2016, and Katie in August of 2016, give or take a month or two. So I wonder when in 2017, if it was early, but anyway, shortly after the arrest started going down, they were no longer friends. When asked if she had come to the conclusion that Donna was guilty, or the Adelsons in general were guilty of doing something, Sara thought they were guilty of conspiring to murder Dan Markel. Well, now who asked her that, the state or the defense, during these depots? Sara clarified that it was not all of the Adelsons, but that Donna, Charlie, and Wendy, what? No Charlie? No Harvey, were guilty of conspiracy to commit murder and soliciting somebody to kill Dan. Well, why is Harvey in these, getting these jail calls and these informants? That was then. New information has come to light since then. So we're going to give this Sara with no H a break. When asked how she became a witness in this case, Sara said that after the last trial, she saw Phil Markel's victim impact statement, and it brought her to tears. She also explained that the amount of time he talked about grandparent alienation and not having a meaningful relationship with the children made her feel really awful. Right. So if they're not mad, if the Adelsons are not mad, why are they keeping Dan's parents from seeing the children? They've not had one unsupervised visit with those children since the children's father was murdered. Not one. And that feels like revenge for Donna, or from Donna, because she was not going to have any unsupervised visits. Like, they're too transparent. At least fake the funk. You know what I mean? But they thought they got away with it. They thought they were untouchable. A lot of people touching you now, Donna Sue. Because of this, Sara contacted the Markel's attorney and provided him with the information she had about grandparent visitation legislation. Oh, I don't know what that means. Okay. Sara said nothing happened for a couple of months, but then the Markells attorney contacted her and told her that he was giving her name to the prosecutor, Georgia Kappelman. Sara said she did this because she wanted to help the Markells. Nothing wrong with that. Sara Yousuf's testimony at Mrs. Adelson's trial should be excluded for the following reasons. Relevance. Pursuant to the Florida Evidence Code, relevant evidence is defined as evidence tending to prove or disprove a fact. Now, why are they spelling relevance here and they didn't do it in the Stephen Webster motion in Limini? I wonder. Now, they did take a clue from our learned Judge Everett, and he said stop signing things under seal and start redacting. But why would they redact the Florida statute? Or is this only applying to this part here? This is weird to me. Especially because they specifically called out that it's the code about relevance in this motion, but not in the other. What are your guesses? Here, the only relevant testimony that Miss Yousuf can offer regarding Mrs. Adelson is the statement that she said Donna made to her about Dan Markel being a jerk. Donna is a party opponent, so that is technically not here. Well, it's the exception to hearsay. It's hearsay, but there's an exception because it's the state versus Donna Adelson, and she's telling you what Donna Adelson said. As evidenced in the deposition, she gave on August 23rd, 2024. Okay, so when did Rashbaum have to step down? It was September of 24, right? Was it? I think it was. So this deposition was with Rashbaum before the new attorneys came on. She testified that other than that single statement about Dan Markel being a jerk, she had no other admissible testimony. For some reason, I feel like they're wordsmithing this because she is an attorney. So why would she sit and say, I have no other admissible testimony? I think Donna's attorneys are deriving that and coming and making that summary. Do you know what I mean? But that is not a fact. That is their opinion, their subjective opinion after reviewing all of the testimony. While this statement may be admissible, it is because she's a party opponent. The rest of Ms. Yousuf's anticipated testimony, including her opinion concerning Mrs. Adelson's guilt, would be inadmissible at trial. And she would know that as an attorney. The judge would know that. They know it. Georgia Kappelman and Sara Dugan know it. So if someone solicited that information on the prosecution side, the defense would object. That should not preclude her from taking the stand at all. So to permit Ms. Yousuf to testify concerning her opinion would be grounds for a mistrial and reversible error. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Who's letting her do it? Even if the court finds evidence relevant, because they know the court will, it can be made inadmissible if its probative value is substantially outweighed by the danger of unfair prejudice, confusion of the issues, misleading the jury, or needless presentation of cumulative evidence. It's not cumulative because nobody else heard Donna say that. I don't know how it's confusing because she said it out of her own mouth about a man who recently died. I don't know how it's misleading. It is, I mean, maybe it's cumulative in the sense that we know Donna didn't like Dan, but that's not, I think that is probative. Like because then if it was just her that heard something like that, or it was just that one incident where Donna exhibited that behavior, it could be argued she was having a bad day or that she was on an extra large dose of Xannies that day because she was recovering from the death of her once son-in-law, the grandfather of her, or I'm sorry, the father of her grandchildren. Right. But because there's a pattern that I think establishes something where in that point, the cumulative evidence is more probative. How does she behave? What was her general thought about Dan? How did she generally regard him? The fact that she brought in, oh, they're saying he was a beloved professor. She's making it like, oh, because he's dead now, he's a beloved professor, where it's like so many students and faculty have come forward and said, he was a beloved professor and a great father. Those were the recurring themes about it. Donna didn't want him to be a great father, so she couldn't see that. And she didn't know squat about him as a professor, except that he outshone Wendy. And I don't know if she even viewed it that way, but I'm sure because Wendy viewed it that way, she fed her mother information to make it like Dan was defective. Do you know what I mean? Like Wendy's mouth set this all in motion. And for a while, I was like, oh, now she's sitting back twiddling her thumbs, but George is going to get you. Bad girl, what you gonna do? Miss Yousuf testified in her deposition she felt sorry for Phil Markel after listening to his victim impact statement. Oh, so that's bad because she's human? She felt bad that the Adelsons were keeping his grandchildren of his only son away from him? That's bad? Okay. This shows bias on the part of Miss Yousuf toward Phil Markel. No, it shows her humanity. Such evidence can be excluded by the court if its probative value is substantially outweighed by unfair prejudice. It's going to come into the trial, the alienation part. It's coming to the other trial. So, well, it came into Charlie's trial for certain. Is Charlie seems surprised about it on the phone call. Said, did she really say that? Have they really not seen them? And then Donna went into that, oh, well, it was weird when they saw them. Like she's justifying, yeah, it's weird because you guys are hovering around and they're trying to build a relationship. Of course it's weird. Under Florida law, hearsay is out of court statement introduced at trial. Most of Ms. Yousuf's anticipated testimony would be inadmissible hearsay. I disagree. Donna is a party opponent. I'm not a lawyer, but I don't think that's right. Because the defense expects the state to call Wendy Adelson as a witness during trial, and much of Ms. Yousuf's deposition testimony consists primarily of things that Wendy Adelson has told her. So what Wendy told her would be hearsay if that's what they're referring to, because in this case, she's not a party opponent, but her day is coming. Wendy Adelson would be the better witness to relay what she did say to Miss Yousuf. Additionally, testimony from both Miss Yousuf and Wendy Adelson would be the needless presentation of cumulative evidence. Oh, I disagree. This is even more reason to bring her in because Mrs. Yousuf could be a rebuttal witness to what, or have rebuttal testimony to what Wendy said, just like Jeff Lacoste did, right? Like, oh, no, that's not, because Wendy's not known to be a reliable narrator. So that seals it for me. Come on in, Miss Yousuf. Come on in. Come on down. Lack of personal knowledge. Witness must have personal knowledge about that which they testify. Most of her deposition is about events to which she has no knowledge. She has knowledge of the conversation. The fireworks are going off. It's June 4th. We will have fireworks for Juneteenth because I live in Harlem, but June 4th, the dogs are going to be miserable. We're starting already. And then, of course, we'll also have 4th of July fireworks, because why not? Based upon her deposition testimony, the limited personal knowledge she had about Dan and Wendy's marriage came from several divorce pleadings that Wendy sent to her to read. I don't think that's true. If they were good girlfriends up until 2017, in addition to motion, she got an earful 1 or 2 times at least from Wendy about the marriage. You know what I mean? You don't just jump into sending people motions. She's sending it to her because she's an attorney friend, but they had conversations.
Come on now.
Is Wendy going to say they didn't? Where are these people getting? Because we know they're not talking to Wendy because her lawyer says she can't talk about the case. Are they talking to her attorney to get this? Oh, they canceled Wendy's deposition. I didn't cover that because there was so much going on, but they canceled that deposition. She probably would have just pled the fifth like she did for Katie McBurnell's case. But anyway, we'll see. But again, because they haven't talked to Wendy, I don't think they've gotten that information that she hasn't shared intimate details about her marriage outside of these motions that Donna's team is claiming. Because even the one motion, what was it like? The motion, the parental alienation motion to have Donna restricted to supervised visits. I think Georgia Kappelman said like Wendy sent it to like 19 people. It might be higher than that. I'm being conservative. And when she was like, I don't think my mom saw that. And Georgia was like, well, you forwarded it to her because she also sent it to Lacoste. So I think Lacoste submitted that, but messy. The thing is, we know Wendy has what I want to call excited utterances where she just blurts out things like according to Lacoste, like the night they went to yoga.
She was like, I have to tell you, Charlie really did look into a hitman about a year ago.
Like she can't control herself. So anyway, I don't think these will hold water. I think they've made an argument for why these people should come in, that there could be rebuttal, there could be foundational things, and they're going to have to object. Pay attention. If they say something that crosses the line, object. That's what you do. But to eliminate them wholeheartedly, at best, I mean, if we split the baby, maybe their direct testimony doesn't come immediately in, but then they come in for rebuttal. To if Wendy gets on the stand and lies, and we know she will because she lies like a rug. I want to know what color her hair is going to be this time. Is it going to be like that brassy color? Is it going to be a little more toned down, a different toner? Is it going to be straight? Is it going to be wavy? Is it going to be straight in the front and wavy in the back, like business in the front, party in the back, like the flat iron didn't go? I'm excited to see Wendy at her mom's trial. I hope she has a lot of Pepto-Bismol. All right, guys, what do you guys think about these two witnesses? It's giving nervous. It's giving like we scared. We got to try to block out everything. And Donna is not paying us a flat fee. She learned the last time we are working by the hour, and we got to get this work in, Judge Everett. We got to get this work in. I'll talk to you guys in the comments. Toodles.